The question was precipitated by the twins and one of the Phelps children. They made simultaneous rush for the chair and screamed and kicked, each pair preventing the third child. The Queen entered this melee and decided in favour of the Phelps boy. He ascended the chair, threat and awed silence fell upon the band, and always William Nietzsche smiled fatuously. He tucked a cloth in the neck of the Phelps boy, and taking scissors began to cut his hair. The group of children came closer and closer. Even the Queen was deeply moved. "Does it hurt?" she asked in a wee voice. "Nah," said the Phelps boy with dignity. "Anyhow, I have no hair. My hair need cut before." When he appeared to them, looking very soldierly, with his cropped little head, there was a tumult over the chair. The Margate twins howled. Jimmy Trescott was kicking them on the shins. It was a fight. But the twins could not prevail. Being the smallest of all the children, the Queen herself took the chair and ordered Nietzsche as if he were a lady's maid. To the floor they fell, proud ringlets blazing, even there in their humiliation with a full fine bronze light. Then Jimmy Trescott, the Ella Earl, 2 long ash-coloured plates, then a Phelps girl, then another Phelps girl, and so on from head to head. The ceremony received unexpected check when the turn came to Dan Earl. This lad, usually docile in any rain, had suddenly grown mulishly obstinate. No, he would not. He himself did not seem to know why he refused to have his hair cut. But despite the shrill derision of the company, he remained obdurate. Anyhow, the twins, long held in check and now feverishly eager, were already struggling for the chair. And so to the floor at last came the golden Margate curls, the heart treasure and glory of a mother, 3 aunts and some feminine cousins. All having been finished, the children, highly elate, thronged out into the street. They crowed and cackled with pride and joy, anon turning to scorn the cowardly Dan Earl. Ella Earl was an exception. She had been pensive for some time, and now the shorn little maiden began vaguely to weep. In the door of his shop, William Nietzsche stood watching them, upon his face a grin of almost inhuman idiocy. Aye, aye, it now becomes the duty of the unfortunate writer to exhibit these children to their fond parents. "Come, Jimmy," cried little Cora, "let's go show Mama." And they hurried off, these happy children, to show Mama. The Trescotts and their guests were assembled indolently, awaiting the luncheon bell. Jimmy and the angel child burst in upon them. "Oh, Mama," shrieked little Cora, "see how fine I am. I've had my hair cut. Isn't it splendid? And Jimmy too." The wretched mother took one side, emitted one yell, and fell into a chair. Mrs. Trescott dropped a large lady's journal and made a nerveless, mechanical clutch at it. The painter gripped the arms of his chair and leaned forward, staring until his eyes were like 2 little clock faces. Dr. Trescott did not move or speak. To the children, the next moments were chaotic. There was a loudly wailing mother and a pale-faced, aghast mother, a stammering father and a grim and terrible father. The angel child did not understand anything of it save the voice of calamity, and in a moment all her little imperialism went to the winds. She ran sobbing to her mother. "Ah, Mama, Mama, Mama!" The desolate Jimmy heard out of this inexplicable situation a voice which he knew well, a sort of colonel's voice, and he obeyed like any good soldier. "Jimmy!" He stepped 3 paces to the front. "Yes, sir. How did this happen? How did this happen?" said Trescott. Now Jimmy could have explained how had happened anything which had happened, but he did not know what had happened, so he said, I, nothing. And, "Oh, look at her frock," said Mrs. Trescott brokenly. The words turned the mind of the mother and the angel child. She looked up, her eyes blazing. "Frock!" she repeated. "Frock! What do you care for? A frock? Frock!" She choked out again from the depths of her bitterness. Then she arose suddenly and whirled tragically upon her husband. "Look!" she declaimed. "All her lovely hair! All her lovely hair is gone! It's gone!" The painter was apparently in a fit. His jaw was set, his eyes were glazed, his body was stiff and straight. "Oh, gone! All her lovely hair gone! Oh, my little poor darling gone! My poor little darling!" The angel child added her heartbroken voice to her mother's wail as they fled into each other's arms. In the meantime, Trescott was patiently unravelling some skeins of Jimmy's tangled intellect, And then you were the barber shop on the hill, yes, and where you get the money, and yes, who beside you, and Cora had a haircut on the Margaret twins. Oh, Lord! Over at the Margate place, old Eldridge Margate, the grandfather of the twins, was in the back garden picking peas and smoking ruminatively to himself. Suddenly he heard from the house great noises. Doors slammed, women rushed up the stairs and downstairs, calling to each other in voices of agony, and then full and mellow upon the still air arose the roar of the twins in pain. Old Eldridge stepped out of the pea patch and moved towards the house, puzzled, staring, not yet having decided that it was his duty to rush forward. Then around the corner of the house shot his daughter, Molly, her face pale with horror. "What's the matter?" he cried. "Oh, father," she gasped, "the children, they—" Then around the corner of the house came the twins, howling at the top of their power, their faces flowing with tears. They were still hand in hand, the ruling passion being strong, even in this suffering. At sight of them, old Eldridge took his pipe hastily out of his mouth. "Good God," he said. And now, what befell when William Nettie, a barber by trade, and what was said by angry parents of the mother of such an angel child, and what was the fate of the angel child herself? There was surely a tempest. With the exception of the Margate twins, the boys could well be eliminated from the affair. Of course, it didn't matter if their hair was cut. Also, the two little Phelps girls had had very short hair. Anyhow, and their parents were not too greatly incensed in the case of Ella Earl. It was mainly the pathos of the little girl's own. Grieving, but her mother played a most generous part, and called upon Mrs. Trescott, and condoled with the mother of the angel child over their equivalent losses, but the Margate contingent, they simply screeched. Trescott, composed and cold-blooded, was in the middle of a giddy whirl. He was not going to allow the mobbing of his wife's cousins, nor was he going to pretend that the spoliation of the Margate twins was a virtuous, beautiful act. He was elected gratuitously to the position of a buffer. But, curiously enough, the one who achieved the bulk of the misery was old Eldridge Margate, who had been picking peas at the time the feminine Margate stormed his position as individuals, in pairs, in teams, and en masse. In 2 days they may have aged him 7 years. He must destroy the utter Nietzsche. He must midnightly massacre the angel child and her mother. He must dip his arms in blood to the elbows. Trescott took the first opportunity to express to him his concern over the affair, but when the subject of the disaster was mentioned, old Eldridge, to the doctor's great surprise, actually chuckled long and deeply. "Oh, well, looky here," he said, "I never was in so much love with them damn curls. The curls were purty. Yeah, but then I'd rather down slight, rather see a boy look my boy, and then my little wax figures, and oh yeah, look at the cusses like themselves. They never took no stock in all this washing and combining and fixing and going to churching and the parading and showing off. They stood before was told, and that's all of course I hear, Neil T.G. or whatever his name is, and it dumb fuffy fitted. But I don't see what he done, and now the kids are full of what crap. I might go bum his shop and his head, and I might bring in no hair, but all the kids are even slashing and kicking the sashes, and that's alright, 'cause I want a sash, boy." Whereupon Trescott perceived that the old man wore his brains above his shoulders, and Trescott departed from him rejoicing greatly that it was the only women who could not know that there was finality to the most disasters, and that when a thing was fully done, no amount of door slammings, rushing upstairs and downstairs, calls, lamentations, tears, could bring back a single hair to the heads of the twins. But the rains came, and the winds blew in the most biblical way. When a certain fact came to light in the Trescott household, little Cora, corroborated by Jimmy innocently, remarked that $5 had been given her by her father on her birthday, and with this money the evil had been wrought. Trescott had known it, but he, thoughtful man, had said nothing. For her part, the mother of the angel child had up to the moment never reflected that the consummation of the wickedness must have cost a small sum of money, but now it was all clear to her. He was the guilty one, he, my angel child. The scene which ensued was inspiriting a few days later. Loungers at the railway station saw a lady leading a shorn and still undaunted lamb, Attached to them was a husband and father, who was plainly bewildered, but still more plainly vexed, as if he would be saying, "Damn 'em, why can't they leave me alone?" August 1899, Harper's Magazine, Volume 99, pp. 358-364. And that's that. Whilomville, Part 1, Angel.